Thank you for keeping it tuned to your love music, love life station. This is Smooth 98.1. It is 16 minutes past 8 a.m. on a feel good Friday morning. The weekend is on our minds, but hold our thoughts because we're walking into the world of great sporting action. This is the locker room on the Smooth Breakfast. My name is Ayokunmi. And of course, we're going to get into all the sports news that has been making the rounds in the last couple of days. A number of things to get into, banter to flow around amongst other things. But I never do this alone because the one and only Amazon herself, Tega Supreme, is joining me. Tega, good morning to you. Great to have you on the show.
Good morning. Thank God it's
I third the motion. I third, not second, third, because what? Long week.
Friday. What a week it has been, and what a weekend it's going to be. Fantastic week so far in the world of sports. What happened yesterday? Onana said something to Matic. Matic said some no. Onana said something about Leon. Matic said something back. Onana responded with full picture and CV. Then yesterday he was called into action and he
Hmm.
blundered twice. So
Hmm.
we'll touch on Anna versus Matic, which this is just round one, Abby. So it's touch on that. We'll also touch on what else happened this weekend after Onana finishes with Leon. Want to know if he'll be able to start this weekend because Manchester United taking on Newcastle United. That's a big one coming up this weekend. We'll also talk about Liverpool a little bit, Mo Salah and his contract. Breaking news: he signed to 2027. We'll talk about that. What maybe Virgil van Dijk is next. Also, we'll talk about what's happening at in tennis at Monte Carlo Masters because it's like if you're seeded, you're out. That's what's happening. We'll touch on
Automatically.
that automatically. We'll talk about what's happening there, and then we'll also talk about Formula One, another big resignation, and another finger pointing at Ben Sulayem. So, will Ben Sulayem survive this? Me, I'm just saying it's karma because when you rob somebody of a world championship, so certain things happen. So we'll touch
Hmm.
on whether it is karma or whether it is bad leadership. But there's another big resignation at Formula One, and the Bahrain Grand Prix is taking place this weekend. All of that and more inside the locker room this morning. But before we do any talking, I don't want to talk alone. I want everybody to talk with me. I'm like Liverpool. I don't talk alone. All right. So
Hmm.
Ayakumi,
Bars.
can you tell them how they can be a part of the show this morning?
Indeed. Hey, as Tega said, we definitely do not want to talk alone. Join us, send your messages in on WhatsApp and join us on YouTube as well. The WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. 0809 That is the WhatsApp number. Come one and come all. Join us on YouTube. We're streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. And I can see on YouTube already some people have already planted their Padre. I see you, Uchenna. Take heart. It happens. Onana. Let me not talk too much. Let's begin.
Oh na
In
na na na.
Let's begin in the world of Formula One, where Mercedes driver George Russell has voiced concern about instability at Formula One's governing body after Robert Reid quit as the FIA deputy president for sport on Thursday in a row over governance.
Exactly. So again, everybody that has quit is talking about governance. Remember the CEO that quit last year? She also alluded to the fact that they said she resigned. It was a mutual agreement. She came out later to say on BBC that it was not mutual agreement. She was forced to resign because she disagreed with Ben Sulayem. Remember the racing director that resigned, then the assistant racing director resigned, then the racing director that they brought in from Formula E to run both F1 and the Formula E now resigned. You see all the people that resigned, and it's not just anybody. Now, this time it's Deputy CEO Robert Reid resigning, and he's making a categorical statement. Said it in his, unlike other people that said, "Oh, I just need to step away from the sport a little bit." He's categorically saying, "I'm stepping away because of this governance issue that there is no integrity in
Hmm.
and there is no structure in the leadership." Again, Ben Sulayem, ever since he came, problem. I mean, from the minute you find out that there was a discrepancy in how the World Championship was decided in 2021, and the reason I keep going back to it was that was the first major decision, because remember, he became CEO just after that. So
Right.
that was his first major that was the first major file on his table, and he blundered that. He dropped the ball heavily on that. From then on, it's been one thing after the other. I mean, recently Carlos Sainz was talking about it. You know, Carlos Sainz about to pay a fine for swearing on his radio.
We talked about it. It was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous, but it's happening. He's going to the principal's office with his wallet. Um, because he swore over the radio. So you're looking at Ben Slayem and like, you can't, I don't know how you run your household, but this is not your household. This is F1. This is an international sport. You can't just do it the way you want. But there is obviously this governance issue. The problem is there's so many people resigning, and I'm wondering exactly how powerful he is that he cannot be ousted.
Hmm.
Because the level of people that are resigning, I think they should have the voting power to get him out. But anyways, that's what's happening in Formula One. So this weekend they are going to be without their deputy CEO, and they've seen so much top resignations at F1. People are beginning to worry about structure, about administrative competence. You know, because when you have less and less people working on projects that maybe 10 people are supposed to work and there are now only 5 people left, there's bound to be gaps. And
Huge
so
gaps.
huge gaps. And so they're going into Bahrain weekend with a huge gap. Anyway, so on that note, Bahrain weekend starts this weekend. Free practice starts at 12:30, or depending on on where you are. If you're in South Africa, 1:30. Um, so it starts at 1:30. So let's see how it goes. Ferrari looking to try and bounce back. They are hoping that first of all, with their new floor, they can get their car working right. Then they
Okay.
will also hope that their pit wall will get the strategy right. Verstappen was complaining about Red Bull and saying that if he were in a McLaren car, he was going to fly to the moon. And then Lando Norris said, "We are going to put you in a McLaren car. Let's see whether you can even drive out of the pit lane." And so there's all this back and forth that we are hoping will bring the drama on Saturday in qualifying and on Sunday during the race.
Nothing like the Japanese Grand Prix. We don't want that one again.
We don't
We need
know that
action.
ball first.
Nothing like that. All right, let's keep the ball rolling, and we're heading into the world of tennis here, where Carlos Alcaraz cruised into the Monte Carlo Masters quarterfinals for the first time on Thursday with a straight sets win over Daniel Altmaier, while British fifth seed Jack Draper was knocked out by Alejandro Davidovich Fokina.
Exactly. So we're talking Monte Carlo Masters now, where Carlos Alcaraz finally won his first match on Monday. Oh, sorry, on Tuesday, and then he's carried on. He's going to play at the quarterfinals against sorry, hold on. He's going sorry, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Tega.
Okay, he's going to play at the quarterfinals against Otto Fields. Now, he may have won against Altmaier in straight sets, but his serves are still shaky. He's playing a little too much on his serves. He's not getting cheap or easy points, which is what sometimes some of these great players can get. He's not getting any of that on his serves. He's rallying every point, and much as he's a young guy, I mean, he turns 22 maybe in a month or two. So much as he's young and he's athletic, and most people talk about his stamina and his athleticism, you don't
Mm,
want to be expending too much energy. You want to be able to, at least on your serve, get some free points. But he's struggling there. And so he's facing a guy like Otto Fields, who is in great form. Who knocked out Andrew Rublev in straight sets yesterday. He's facing that guy. I don't think it's going to be easy. In fact, his match against Otto Fields determines exactly whether his season has turned around, is turning around, or it's going to be a long season. Because autophagy is one of the great tests you can have. But while we talk about Carlos Alcaraz, who at least has managed to make it through to the quarterfinals, the likes of Novak Djokovic, Daniel Medvedev, Jack
mm,
Draper. all have crashed in this Monte Carlo. I remember I told you about Sasha Zverev who crashed in his first match. Same thing
Hmm.
happened to Novak Djokovic. Stepped on the court, was beaten in straight sets by Tabilo. Now, Tabilo was the guy that knocked him out of the Rome Masters last year. Um, but
Huh.
Tabilo beating him this year again is beginning to raise eyebrows because Novak Djokovic is that kind of guy that if you beat him once, he's going to get ready for you the next time. He didn't look like he had any answers for Tabilo. So the question is retirement looming?
I think it is.
Or or are we just still going to see him around the circuit? That's one of the questions for Daniel Medvedev. Of course, he has a love-hate relationship with clay, so him crashing out this early, I don't think it's much of the problem. It's if he goes to Grand Slams, I will understand whether he's frustrated again. But yes, he has this relationship where he struggles with clay, and sometimes where he wins a tournament on it and he falls in love with it. So no shocks there.
Huh. Looking at the Monte Carlo Masters, feeling kind of like the women's side, the wild, wild west with all the tops you just falling left, right, and center. Kind of
Yep.
vibes giving. Ah. All right. Let's move on to the world of football. And we are here finally. Goalkeeper Andre Onana was at fault for 2 goals as a last gap Lyon equalizer put Man United's Europa League quarterfinal tie in the balance at the halfway stage.
And that's it for the 2 goals. It's one thing to before the match to talk about how and I don't think what he said was wrong. I think the fact that he was the one that said it. There's some truths that you cannot tell. You
True,
cannot
true.
yeah, you cannot leave Nigeria and go to another country and say, oh, there's no power supply. Everybody just going to look at you like from your mouth. Somebody else can say it, but you can't say it as true as it can be. And so that's the case with Andrew Nana. So he goes to talk about Leon, and he I don't think he was talking down on Leon. I was just thinking that when he was looking at both teams, he thought rightfully that Manchester United were the better team. And he said it, but you know, Matic, who's played for Manchester United under Jose Mourinho, comes out to say, you know what? You of all people should be saying that you're the worst goalkeeper that Manchester United has ever seen. And he should know. He's seen Manchester United, he's played in Manchester United, he's played against Manchester United. He knows the worst goalkeeper when he sees one. And then Andrew Nana came out to talk about how he's won trophies with other clubs. Anyway, it set the ball rolling for Manchester United versus Lyon. And then they get to the match. And the 2 goals that Lyon scored, you were at fault. Matic, Matic didn't need to say anything. He just has to. The camera just panned to him. There was no need. The drama wrote itself. There was no need for speeches or anything. The camera just panned to Matic just sitting there,
The silence
looking
was
at him.
heavy.
The silence was palpable. So at this point in time, he just really proved, Matic right. And unfortunately, it was a little costly because Manchester United, they didn't have the best of games, but they got ahead with a sexy goal, and it looked like they were going to go away with the win. That goal was scored almost at the last kick of the game.
Exactly.
They were walking out the door with 3 points. Onana said, "No, this is your house. You can't go empty-handed. Come and take." That's literally what he did. And so ultimately his mistakes were costly. But it's not such a result that Manchester United cannot turn over at Lyon. The question is, who Onana be playing for? Will he be playing for Manchester United, or will he be playing for Lyon on the day? Those are the questions he needs to answer. But whilst answering those questions, Ruben Amorim will have to answer his own questions. Because this weekend, Manchester United is taking on Newcastle. Now, Newcastle are high flying, they're in top four, and they want to play in the Champions League, especially
Definitely.
now that England has 5 spots confirmed. So Newcastle will be playing their best football to see that after winning, the Carabao Cup and getting a place in top four, they are able to keep that place in top four and then go to Champions League. The question Ruben Amorim has to answer is, will he follow his press conference because he in the post-match press conference he backed Onana. Will he follow his post-match press conference and stick to Onana, or will he try something new? That question has to be answered by Sunday.
That question has to be answered by Sunday. There's really no time, not too much time for Ruben Amorim to do much of the thinking. It's back to back, and we'll see how it all plays out. Let's take a very, very quick break here. And when we come back in, we'll talk about the Champions League, specifically that game, PSG against Aston Villa. That and so much more in the locker room on the other side. This is Smooth 98.1. Hmm. I'm going to the village this weekend. I want to consult the oracle on his behalf because I don't understand.
I really don't get how Onana went from Inter Milan Onana to this Onana. And to
I don't.
make matters worse, did you see David De Gea with Fiorentina yesterday? Omo, the guy was saving things.
I mean, David De Gea had his own brain farts at different points. Yes, there are compilations of that we know, but it just seemed like he could do the basics. Onana seemed to
Yes,
struggle with the
with the
basics.
basics. Yes, that's what I'm saying. So David, all the things that they're saying about David De Gea, sometimes some of it was him being overwhelmed. Can you imagine just being plastered from morning till night in goal? So sometimes, sometimes you can understand that he was second guessing himself. I kid you not. There were some saves he made yesterday. I remembered his time at Manchester United. Like that, he made like one double save at the end of the match for Fiorentina that gave Fiorentina the victory. Because to in their game they two were 2-1 up, and he ensured that they went 2-1 up with some last minute saves, which we can say for Nana. And he made that, that his leg saves he likes to make. He can save better with his leg than with his hand. He now saved with
Surprisingly,
his
yeah.
leg. Yeah. He now saved his leg. I just remember this time at Manchester United. I was like, oh, na. I couldn't believe it.
Get back in. You're welcome back into the locker room on the Smooth Breakfast. This is Smooth 98.1. We are your love music, love life, love sports station as well. 34 minutes past 8 a.m. on a Feel Good Friday morning. Yours truly, Ayokunmi here, ready to get back into the groove. Tega also with me on this one. We have been dissecting all the sporting action in the last couple of days, and that is set to continue. But we need you to join us. We don't want to talk alone, as Tega mentioned earlier. You also get to be part of the show by sending your messages in to us. The WhatsApp number remains 0809-444-0981. Also join us on YouTube where we're streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. A couple of comments there already. But before we jump into those, let us get back into the stories here, Tega. We're talking about the Champions League. Nuno Mendes' late goal was a fair reward for PSG's total domination of their 3-1 win against Aston Villa in the Champions League quarterfinal first leg on Wednesday.
Yes, that third goal I think was the killer because at 2-1, Aston Villa would still have been hoping that there's something that they can get away with. At 2-1, it'd still be a precarious position for PSG coming to England. Even if most people are convinced that they would have been able to complete the job in England, but at 2-1, it still left the door a little open. 3-1 and the door was shut. Um, I think it was ultimately the way Aston Villa just capitulated. I like to say when you go against a team, I don't care whether you're playing at home or away, have some same identity of the team that you are. Aston Villa looked a completely different team. They were sitting deep all through. I know you're playing away. I know you're playing against PSG, but try once in a while, hit them on the counter, try to run at them. But they were playing Ropado football for most of the match, which was a bit disappointing. It completely changed the Aston Villa style I knew. And now, yes, I know there were opportunities that fell to Aston Villa that I think Rogers shouldn't have taken himself. Maybe he should have squared to his teammates. But when you're in red hot form like he is, sometimes you want to try things. Ultimately, those kind of errors will come in. But I think it really came down to the approach that they had in the game. And so now they find themselves on the back foot in a Champions League tie that maybe they had a chance. So it's going to be tough for this to happen. But remember the last time Unai Emery and Luis Enrique met in the Champions League. Remember, Unai Emery was coach when PSG won 4-0 at home,
Right,
and then
right,
went
right.
to Barcelona and lost 6-1.
6-1, yeah.
Luis Enrique was the coach. so it's these two have a history, and it's not impossible to see a turnaround. It's very improbable, but I don't think it's impossible.
Hmm. Improbable, but not impossible. At the end of the day, it is football. Anything can definitely happen. Okay, let's talk about what's going on in the Premier League. Nottingham Forest, their manager, Nuno Espirito Santo, insists that the cushion of an extra Champions League place for English clubs will not change his approach as they chase a top five finish in the league.
I agree with him. The fact that there's an extra spot now, he should not assume that okay, automatically we're going to make it because we're number three position. So he's Nottingham Forest plays against Everton this weekend. Not an easy feat. If you think I'm lying, ask Arsenal. Even Liverpool that defeated Everton, it really ultimately came down to Everton missing their opportunities in the first half, and Liverpool obviously knew that they played a tough team that day. So it's not going to be easy against a Moyes' team, and he shouldn't take for granted, that he's in a good position because Manchester City, Newcastle United, Chelsea, they are all chasing that top five position. There are six teams but only five spots. Somebody's heart is going to break. And
Oh, yes.
and Nottingham Forest are saying, it will not be my heart. I will not be the one to eat breakfast on this note. And so yes, they have to from now in, it's literally a run in for every single team trying to get into top six. Apart from Liverpool, who's pretty safe. Every other team still has to play reasonably well to solidify or to ensure that they keep their position in that top five. Nottingham Forest are still in the hot seat, but teams like Manchester City are going to have to up their game. Teams like Chelsea are going to have to up their game. And Chelsea may be having a good time in Conference League. I think they won 3-0 last night. Um, but the Premier League is a completely different kettle of fish.
Mm.
Sorry, another draw will not do for them. They have to start winning matches.
They definitely have to start winning matches. And Tega, you did mention something just now that Nottingham Forest will not want to, we don't want to, eat breakfast. Definitely not at this late stage in the season after all the hard work they've put in
Yes,
right
after
from the
they've done the
beginning.
hard work.
No, that's definitely not on the cards. All right, let's talk about Claudio Ranieri. Now he faces his final Rome derby on Sunday as he leads Roma on the charge for the Champions League before finally definitely sailing off into the distance.
That's what he said the last time. He thought he was sailing off into the distance, and then they called him to rescue Roma. He should stop dreaming of that retirement. He should know that he's on standby appointment. But what it is, yes, Roma is taking on Lazio in the Italian Serie A, and it's in the battle for top four. There was a time this season that Roma wasn't even smelling this position. And suddenly they are the boogeymen of the Italian Serie A. And they face a Lazio side that have a point to prove because Lazio lost 2-0 against Bodo Glimt. Even I'm still stunned by that result. They didn't score and they conceded two. But Europa is a completely different competition from the Serie A. And
Mm,
over just last weekend, I think they were able to get that result against Atalanta. Now, Atalanta may seem to be giving 3 points. Um, so you may take that result for granted. And the fact that Roma are in great form, you may also say that that was a one-off. But Lazio do have a point to prove. So I remember this is a derby. It's completely different. People approach the
yes.
derbies differently, regardless of form, regardless of previous results. So this is going to make it a tough one. But for the neutrals like me, interesting.
Most def Most definitely, and we are looking forward to this hope, and also looking forward to whether or not Claudio Ranieri will be sailing off, or whether that ship will turn around and sail back to the dock
The chief will turn
at that
around.
point.
He's like Michael. He'll be back like Michael Jordan.
He just can't seem to stay away. All right, let's talk about Barcelona, where their manager Hansi Flick has warned their Champions League rivals his team are still looking to improve after beating Borussia Dortmund 4-0 on Wednesday.
Yeah, interesting one. They got their 4-0 result. Borussia Dortmund, Emre Can was abusing the rest of his teammates, and they are so soft. How can you lose to Barcelona by 4 goals to 0? Yeah, a soft team. No, they are not. Even a tough team like Real Madrid lost to Barcelona by the same scoreline. You'll be coming down. So
Hmm.
don't call that. You can't call Real Madrid soft, can you? So it's a tough task for. It was a tough task for Dortmund. But Hansi Flick is making this statement. Like I said, he's always cautious, regardless of how well they play or how comfortable the result looks. He's always cautious of his team, and you have to remember his team is young. So they're still
True.
making up their minds about who they are. So sometimes they give conflicting results. And so he's just trying to keep them on their toes because they can get carried away easily. They're not yet seasoned enough um, to have that purpose. But this weekend, I think it's shocking. That's why I say La Liga doesn't do well for their teams. Because this weekend, Barcelona is playing against Leganes on Sunday. Sorry, on Saturday. Teams like Real Madrid that played the day before have an extra day of rest. Teams like Atletico Madrid that didn't do anything, they're playing on Monday. La Liga just doesn't care about Barcelona, to give them time. It's like you've played for Europa, you've played for UEFA, come and play our own. So they're playing against Leganes. Now, the reason why I call Leganes this fixture is because Leganes was a tough team. You saw the result they tried to pull up against Real Madrid. So it's a tough team for them to come back and play. The turnaround time is a bit much. I think the good news for Hansi Flick is that he has the opportunity to rest Lewandowski a little bit and try Torres. Um, but yeah, it seems like the games are coming thick and fast for Hansi
Oh,
Flick.
yes. Mm.
And it's just 4 points between Barcelona and Real Madrid, so it's still not a certain thing. So
It's
he
not
needs to,
certain.
yeah. And last time I was remember they had a draw against Real Betis, so he needs to win this match and then find a way to recover quickly because Barcelona is playing on Tuesday.
They just can't seem to catch a break at all, at all, at all. All right, Tega, very quickly, just talk about Salah's new deal. It's it's
Oh
it's, uh,
yes.
it's 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 done and dusted on that front.
Yeah, it's done and dusted on the front. Salah said he's staying back to win more trophies for them, but he signed a 2-year contract because the new contract would expire in 2027, by which time I think he'd be 34. So pretty much when people start going to America or Saudi Arabia,
Saudi
depending on
Arabia, yeah.
or
Well,
wherever your taste is.
he speaks
Um,
Arabic, so he's fine.
Depends too on what he wants because Messi could have gone to Saudi Arabia. He was like, no, America it is. All right. So on that note, depending on what the plan is. But he signed a 2-year contract extension, and that's good. At least that deal is done for Salah. Liverpool can move on and know exactly what they're doing next season. Virgil van Dijk is also almost 80% done. We are hearing that it could be a 2-year contract for him too. And I think I understand Salah's own, but based on recent performances against of Virgil van Dijk, I don't understand it. I still think they should have looked for somebody younger. But hey, I'm not the one giving away contracts at Liverpool. So
Mm, indeed. Well, congrats to Salah on that front. And of course, Liverpool fans will be relieved, at least for the time being. All right, let's take your messages. AY from Inuru says, oh, nah, what's my name?
Nana, what's my name? There's so many Onana songs. What's
I'm telling
happening?
you. Chidozie says the annoying thing about Nana is that he prides himself as a confident goalkeeper. However, his performances on the pitch reflect the opposite. Ever since he came to United, his reflexes and flight calculation of the ball have always been ridiculously poor. Most times, he's already on the floor before the ball is even shot. Hey, I know what you mean. Tayo says, in Onana we trust not to disappoint. He will make anybody a prophet about him. That guy is the highest kit maker, and Man United paid 59 million plus add-ons. What are they adding to the skits? I think he needs a contract extension. Ayo, I see you, and all I can say is it is well. Hang in there, bro, till Monday. after the dust settles, I'll bring additional banter material. I mean next season already. I keep saying
Ayo
this
has
thing.
moved on. Ayo has
Ah,
finished his therapy session. He's healthy.
mm. Emeka says, Onana can go to another club today and begin to shine again, just like Elanga and Anthony are doing right now. Maybe there's one kind of spirit at that club that makes them play poorly. We also saw how good Onana was at Inter Milan, even during the Champions League final.
Exactly. Ayo, tell us what is it not your club? Is your club maybe the problem? Look at
They've
Anthony now. Look
they've
at
buried
Elanga
something.
now.
They've buried something on the pitch.
They very
Hyena, hyena and
hyena
co.
on it.
Let me go to YouTube very quickly. Uchenna Okoye says, Onana, after all the noise, you couldn't make saves to prove them wrong. Why did you open your mouth in the first place? United never far from drama. Lyon actually have solid players and technically good all round. Ayofedada says Barcelona are running riot at this time around the Champions League. Dortmund collected 4 unreplied goals without any hope of a comeback next week. And whomever they meet in the semi-finals, whether Bayern or Inter, it will be the same results. Be humble, oh. LK Adirogba says, Matic trolling Onana was just too funny yesterday. And Ibukun says, Ayo and Tega, please beg Amorim to use Bayendira. Onana's mistakes show he's not good enough. We gave him 1 season to adjust. If it was secondary school, he would have been advised to withdraw.
And you, your university said advice to withdraw. All right. At this point in time, I want to thank you for your messages. We will see if Amorim uses Binder over the weekend. But want to thank you for sending your messages via YouTube, via WhatsApp, and thank you for streaming to tune to Smooth 98.1 FM to listen to us. Till we come your way again on Monday this weekend. Pray that your team is not fodder for banter. Have a
Amen.
fantastic weekend.
Have a fantastic weekend, Tega. Thank you for an amazing week. And thank you for always keeping it tuned to the locker room and to Smooth 98.1. We appreciate you each and every single day. Don't go anywhere. The Smooth Breakfast kicks on. It's a feel good Friday. You know how we do.